kid. That's some 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 kid.
Hey there, my name's Nathan, and if you're watching this video, you've probably watched our music video, Some Kid, or you've gone through our Some Kid curriculum that talks about transforming students through the power of connection. Today, what we're gonna be going through in this video is we are going to be going through the song Some Kid verse by verse and discussing what it means. Now, first things first, we gotta dive into the hook.
I die, you live, I die, you live, I die, you live, Charlotte's wet, you in the wet, Charlotte's wet, you in the wet.
And if I could go back in time, 5 years ago when I wrote this song, I might change up the hook a little bit from I die, you live. It's very dramatic, but honestly, that's something that also pulls people in, so it is what it is. But the idea behind it was always Charlotte's Web. When I heard this beat, there was just something about Charlotte's Web that popped into my head. And so when I said, I die, you live, it was this sacrificial idea of who Charlotte was and how that ties to a teacher. Now, as we talk about in our Some Kid series, the idea of death and life when it applies to teachers, that's a little extreme. And we go through that, we talk about how our goal as teachers is not just to be sacrificial all the time, so much so that it costs us something. But there is something about being sacrificial that ties into being a teacher, and that's something that's really beautiful. And it's something that I wanted to talk about in this song, specifically how teachers can reach out to students to change their lives. So verse 1 is all about this idea of teachers or parents or some authority figure being a Charlotte in a kid's life, stepping in and being willing to commit, being willing to invest, being willing to advocate for that student to transform that student's life. And in the process, you're creating a web for that student. You're trapping that student in a web, but not in the traditional sense. You're trapping them in a web of positivity in order to change their lives and get them to see who they are, to see that some kid written in their life.
You in the web, you cannot escape it. Those words they said, I will replace it. You fearing death, they say embrace it. But I see your future, and boy you ain't faking,
Those words they said in the past, I will replace those words with positive words. You're fearing death, they say embrace it. You're just a pig, you're just gonna become bacon. But I see your future, and no, you are not bacon. I see your future, and what they're saying about your future is different than what I'm saying about your future. And that's the goal as a teacher every single day, no matter what your student is carrying into the classroom, your job is to say, that's not necessarily who you are. Here's how I see you. Here's what I see your potential to be. How can we get you to that point? How can we work with your community to get you to that point?
You ain't faking, nah, that's greatness in you. Somehow you believe it, but I know you, Dad, that's greatness in you. You cannot receive it, but I'll show you how that's greatness in you. You cannot see it, but we'll bring it out, that's greatness in you. You better believe it when you believe it.
I can't remember if it's episode 3 or 4 in the series, but we talk about faith, and that's what this section is all about. There's greatness in you. Do you have the faith to see it? Do you have the vision to say, here's where I am right now, here's where I want to be in the future? That's what we're trying to get our students to see. Not where they are right now, not their struggles in the moment, but where they need to go in the future.
You may be the worst, you may be perfect. But I know that to you, there's more than the surface. Beyond the facade, deep down in the person. When I look at you, I see a purpose. That's why.
And that covers the spectrum, right? We have our students that are outwardly struggling when they walk into our class. And then we may have the students who are absolutely perfect. Those students who are honor roll students, those students who are high achieving students, but they don't have a perfect life. They're perfect, but they still have struggles, things that they keep buried inside. And honestly, a lot of times it's those higher achieving students that on the inside of them, in order to achieve those things, they've got a pressure cooker in there that's just cooking, and that can explode if they don't have an outlet. And so us teachers, we can give them that outlet. We can allow them to express themselves. We can allow them to move toward their purpose. And in the process, we can depressurize what's going on the inside and hopefully begin the process of changing their life in a positive direction. Verse 1 is all about creating that web. So creating a classroom of positivity so that students don't see themselves necessarily as they are, but for who they could be. And that's the power for us as adults, for us as teachers, is we can look at a young student and it's not necessarily ours to just call out, oh, this is who you are, that's who you are. But in building a relationship with a student and getting to know them and what they like and what they dislike, and seeing the things that they are really good at or the things they struggle with, they just need to overcome, we can say, I see this in you. And how many of us in our lives, whether it was when we were teens or adults or even now, we need those people in our lives who say, I heard you say that about yourself, or I saw you do that. Why did you do that? Can you explain that a little more? And we go, I don't know why I said that. Or this really is something that I'm super excited about. That's awesome. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. And so a lot of times as teachers, it's not about us social engineering our classrooms. It's simply bringing something to our students' attention that they may not have noticed on their own. And that's a really cool privilege that we have. Verse 2. And this is an allusion, obviously, to Birdman and the Breakfast Club, which is outdated, but it wasn't then when I wrote it.
Put some respect on my name. Put some respect on my game. Not cause I'm better, but cause I am here when those better would not do the same. They ran away when they saw death. Not me, I stay. Son double X, went to the grave, laid me to rest. Then I came back, one of the best.
And what this particular verse is about, and that double X that it talks about is like, in like cartoons, when like characters die, they get like a double X. And I think for all of us as teachers, especially in our first couple of years, we come in and we think,
oh, I'm an amazing teacher. I'm the best teacher that's out there. All these older teachers, they don't know what they're doing. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna innovate. I'm gonna do things that no one else has done.
Which is great. It's awesome to have that perspective. But at the same time, there's that naive part of us as early teachers, as beginning teachers, that we have to go out there and we have to experiment so that part of us can die. And not in a negative sense, but in a realistic sense. When you're a teacher, you are dealing with the lives of real people, with students. And so you can't just go out and experiment as you wish. You can't just go out and fail time and time again because there are consequences to this. And so when we say, like, I died and then I came back, what we're talking about is that version of who we thought we were going to be as a teacher. And we kind of have to come to terms with reality and say, this is a completely different level of teaching that's going to be required for me to change these kids' lives. And so it's this idea of saw double X, then I came back one of the best. In my personal teaching career, I thought I was a great teacher for probably, I was a little arrogant for probably the first 4 or 5 years of my teaching career. And then I entered a teaching context that was very, very challenging. It was a first-year charter school, minimal funding. It was just, there were behavior issues right and left. And it was as if I went from being okay in the minor league to entering the major league, and I just got crushed in the major league. And so what I had to do is I had to just let that old part of me just go away. And I had to become the teacher that I needed to be to transform the lives of my students. And so that's what I'm talking about here when I say, that put some respect on my name, put some respect on my game. I have gone through the process of being changed as a teacher. This group of students, they're entering your classroom for the first time, but I'm not just any teacher. I'm a teacher who's been through the ringer. I'm a teacher who's struggled. I'm a teacher who's been through challenges. I've faced the type of misbehavior that you're throwing at me before. I've faced the situations that you're throwing at me before. I am a professional, and when you're entering my classroom, you better realize who you're dealing with. And so that's what it is. It's all about, I deserve respect because of what I've gone through, but also I'm here. So there's this idea of I deserve respect because I've put time and effort into this profession. But at the beginning of this verse, there's also something a little different that I talk about. And it's put some respect on my name, put some respect on my game, not because I'm better, but because I am here when those better would not do the same. Now I don't know if I necessarily agree with this lyric wholeheartedly, but as we all know, there are a lot of people who are called into teaching who don't go into teaching. So they look at teaching and they go, I don't like the pay. They look at the teaching and they go, I don't know about the effect that would have on my reputation. They look at teaching and they go, I don't know how my family would feel if I went into teaching instead of some other career that my family has traditionally gone into. And as a result, the people who need to be in education, they are either leaving or they don't go into it to begin with. And so what that does is it puts a strain on us who were called to be in education because we needed that broader support system. We needed those people in our schools and they're simply not there. And so as a result, and this is what I'm talking about in this verse, students should respect us, and this isn't just to be manipulative, but students should respect us because we're there. In this day and age, teachers are leaving the education field right and left. And so the fact that we're still there and we're committed to stay with them for at least a year at a time, that's worthy of respect, because there are so many other fields in which people would just leave. They would deal with what we deal with on a daily basis, and they would say, I'm out of here, I'm not doing this. But instead, we choose into this field day after day after day. And because we do that, it's worthy of respect.
Call me a teacher, call me a weaver. I turn the doubters into believers. I turn the bitter into achievers. No babysitter, I am your leader.
Call me a teacher, call me a weaver. I weave those words in the web. I turn the doubters into believers. I turn the bitter, those that are like, man, I'm done with school. This is ridiculous. I turn the bitter into achievers. No babysitter, we are not babysitters, as much as culture wants to paint us that way. I am your leader, I'm not a babysitter, okay? I'm not just somebody that your parents just paid and they left behind, and you're like, yeah, we get to have fun, we get to do whatever we want. The babysitter's gotta deal with it. We are professionals, this is our job. We are not a babysitter, we are your leader.
I plant words in the web, I plant words in the head. They couldn't feel you then, now they nod their head. They hear you, they feel you. When I'm done, they gon' feel you.
And so this right here is just, you're planting words in their head, and people around them, whether it's their peers or out in society, our students have unique perspectives and they're meant to be shared with the world. But a lot of times, whether it's because there's just not enough space for their voices or their voices aren't given a platform, our students' voices aren't included in the conversation. And so when we show our students who they are, it encourages them to bring their voice into the conversation. And so as a result, they're gonna hear you, they're gonna feel you, and when I'm done, they're gonna fear you. And so this is one of those that you want your students to bring who they are into the broader world, because they are needed. There are forces out there in the world that are at work that are just okay with the status quo, that whether they're making money off of it or whether it works to their advantage. And so when individuals come in who are passionate about something, when individuals come in who are confident about who they are, it does change a space. Those students who know who they aren't just gonna accept the status quo. Those students who know who they are, they want to change things for better, for the way that they see it. So we wanna empower our students to do that, so that the people who look at them then, in the music video, this is like the bad guy, say all that power. They need restraint. Can we control them? No, we can't. All right, and so this is that person who's looking at them, and our students have grown so powerful. We've shown them who they are. They know their identity, and they're going to live into it. It's to the point that the people around them will go, wow, all that power. They need restraint. Can we control them? No, we cannot. And so the goal here is not obviously to raise reckless students who don't know how to live in the world, who are just selfish and living the way that they want to live. They don't care what other people think. That's not the goal. That's not what we're trying to achieve here. What we're trying to achieve here is giving our students power to live the life that they want to live, so that they can transform the world in a positive way. That's what we want. And I know that each one of those things is a little bit subjective, but that's kind of what we want for our students. We don't want our students leaving our classroom broken. We want our students leaving our classroom a little more whole. We want our students being able to go out into the world, not just like, oh goodness, what am I gonna do? The world's going to attack me. What's gonna happen? We want them to walk out into the world with their shoulders back, confident and secure in who they are, so that they can go out and really make a difference in their families, in their communities, and in the broader world.
That's some kid. 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 I see you. That's some kid. 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 That's some kid.
And that's what Some Kid is all about. It's about us, for whether you have students for a year or whether you have students for multiple years, which I've done before. You are to be the Charlotte in their life. You're to be the difference maker. You're to be the one who takes their life trajectory and changes it, or gives them a higher vision of who they could be as they grow up and as they move forward. So that's what this song is about. It's about really just teachers giving students, giving of ourselves, not necessarily dying, but that's what it says in the hook, giving of ourselves, whether that's just like giving them clarity or giving them our time and our attention so that our students can live. You're in the web, you're in Charlotte's Web. That's the goal, is when students enter our classroom, they are in our web and we can guide them to where they're supposed to go and help them become who they're supposed to be.